Hi, this is Dr. Graves with the California State University at Northridge Geography Department. This is a video tutorial to help students learn to do t-test using Microsoft Excel online. As it appears that some of the tools for doing t-tests and some other statistics that I assume students have don't exist in the online version, and that causes confusion. So this is an effort to sort of make up for that. So what we're going to start with is a data set on police arrestees in the Los Angeles Police Department, and this would work for multiple different data sets. T-tests are going to allow us to determine whether or not the average age of arrestees for felonious assault is significantly different by ethnicity. So I'm going to click on Microsoft 365. If you click on OneDrive or Box Drive from Cal State Northridge, it will eventually take you to the exact same location. This to me is the quickest route, and I'm recording, so let's do that. So what you have in front of you is a list of people who have been arrested for all sorts of things over a period of a number of years. I believe it's 2015 to 2019. So it's a large data set, and as has been the case before with a large data set, we want to reduce it. But before we do this, let's do a couple of other things. One, if you don't like this mini tool ribbon here at the top, you can click on this down arrow and change to the classic ribbon, which I prefer. And the other thing you'll probably want to do is to click on File and Save As. Click Save As, save a copy online. You may try other things, and this is in one folder, and I want to save it in a different folder and change the name so it just has my name on it. I know it's my copy. So once you've taken care of that, then we can go ahead and get started managing the data in a way that is more useful to us. So once again, you may want to open the classic ribbon and click on Insert and Pivot Table. The pivot table in the online version of the software looks a little bit different, but the functionality is the same. Click on New Sheet, and the pivot table tools appear. We want to move area name over into the rows box, which gives us a listing of the various sort of precincts, so to speak, of the LAPD. Let's drag age here into values, and we can leave it at some for the moment. And for the columns, we will put descent code, and these letters represent various ethnicities, but we're going to see that for some things like S, whatever that means, only appears in the central division, so we won't be using that. And then the last thing we want to do is take the charge group description and move it up here into filters. So let's reduce our data set to make it manageable. Here, click on filters, and let's just get rid of everything except let's do aggravated assault. Aggravated assault is the most common of the type 1 felonies, and they're a good measure of violent crime in any neighborhood. So that reduces things quite a bit. And for descent code, let's filter that as well. So click on the down arrow and click filter, and let's unselect everything, but then reselect H, I believe that's Hispanic, B, I think is black, O is other, and W is white. I suspect it's pretty irresponsible of the LAPD to create these sort of random charge codes. what does C mean, for example? Is it Chinese or Caucasian, or I don't know. And so then we have almost ready to go. The important thing to note is that we have lots of observations in each of the categories. There's no empty observations, so that's very important. This is the sum. We don't have any zeros. We can come over here to the values windows and double check by changing the value field settings to a count, and there's only 10 others in the Southeast Division, but that's still pretty good, and we'll have enough observations to make this legitimate. So we'll change this value setting one more time, and let's change it to average, because we want is the average age for each of these groups. And so we have 21 observations, or 21 sort of samples for each one of these things. Let's do one more thing here. Let's get a little crazy and take these filters off. We'll go to select all, and what I want you to do is just grab this grand total column, press Control C or copy it, and I want to paste it down here. And so you can go to Home and Paste, and you can just paste the values, and that's fine. Just make sure that you note that this last one is the average of all. We can put in here all persons, regardless of descent. And then we can go back here and refilter that. That was my mistake for not doing that earlier. Again, Black, Hispanic, Other, and White, the groups that have most observations. And so the basic question that is answered by a t-test, there's sort of three kinds. One is if we ask, is there a difference, a significant difference between the average age of blacks that have been arrested for aggravated assault and Hispanics? And the average is down here at 36.34 and 31.45. That looks like that's a big deal to me, but I'm not sure, because sometimes it's hard to tell. What if we're comparing, say, blacks to whites or blacks to others? Is this a major deal? And so if you're comparing two samples, which these are samples up here, that is a two sample difference of means t-test. But if we are taking one sample and then comparing it to the entire group, that's a one sample difference of means t-test. The other thing that we could do with this is to take a look at the average age of arrestees in 2015, which was in our data, and then again in 2019 or some other year, and sort of do a before and after, and that's called a matched pair difference of means t-test. And that is particularly useful if you're looking to see, was there an improvement over time on the arrest rates, if you are doing some kind of work in the community in which you are trying to lower the crime rate, then among youth, and you believe that you have done a good job of lowering the youth crime rate, then one would expect that this average age would go up in the district or the area of your concern. So how do we do these t-tests? Relatively simply. So I'm going to go to the Formulas tab. This is one way of doing it. There's a dozen ways of doing it. Click Insert Function, and I'm going to type t-test. And that's the test we want to use. Click on that and click Next. And it's asking us, well, which group do you want to compare one to the other? And so if we wanted to compare blacks to Hispanics, array 1 is black. Click in the array 2 box, array 2, and then it asks us about the tails. And so if we want to see are they simply different, that is a two-tailed test. And if we want to know is 36.34 significantly larger than 31.45, we will just put 1. So what we'll do is a one-tailed test to ask if that's a significantly older group of black arrestees than the Hispanic arrestees. And then the type is, do we assume that the underlying populations are unequal, or do we assume that they are equal? And in this case, we will do the two sample unequal variance, and you can change these around and see if they're different for you. So click insert, and that gives us this crazy looking number, 5.699 times 10 to the negative 8, which is really complex and unfortunate way to express that it's a very small number. So click on home and change, while you have this cell highlighted, and change it to number, and we see 0.000 or 0.00. And in order for us to say that they're essentially the same, that number would have to be larger than that. So this turns out to be the chance that we would be wrong if we said that 36 is significantly larger than 31. And our chances are pretty small because we have a large sample. And so that's the chance that we're wrong. Let's try a couple of other things. I'm going to run this test one more time, and we're going to compare, so we can compare blacks to whites. If I click here and I can click and drag this box and drag it over to whites, just like that. It's 38 larger than, and we see again it's those two boxes are pretty similar. What about the blacks and other? And they're a little more similar. And then the last one we'll do with the limited time we have is that we'll do this again, but I'm going to type in t-test here one more time, and I'm going to ask it, are the black arrestees significantly different than the general population in terms of average age? And to do that, we're going to ask, because we're asking are they different, not is one bigger than the other. It's a two-tailed test. And then the last type is we're going to assume that it is a two sample equal variance. So we'll put in a 1 here at the end, and we're going to say we assume that the underlying population is the same. You may not want to assume that, and you can again experiment. And so now we get an O2, and that would say that we're about 98, 97% confident, and generally that's good enough. But if we wanted to be 99% confident that those two are different, then we may want to back off that assumption. So that ends this video tutorial about t-testing in Excel.